Hello Caffeine Fiends and welcome to another coffee review video for www.getbean.com. I'm Vince the Mean Bean Machine and today we're looking at Gødhead Coffee's Nirvana blend. Now, I've sort of followed Gødhead from a distance for a little while. They've always had this sort of very high-end, opulent range of coffees that have always been possibly a little bit too pricey for me, but I think the rest of the market sort of caught up with that, and with the cost of coffee now, then they're actually not that expensive comparatively. So I took the plunge recently on their Nirvana blend, quite possibly because it's named after the greatest band of all time. Yes, I said it, Beatles fans, come at me. But no, I'm sure it's named after the Buddhist concept of spiritual enlightenment, but that's less interesting than 90s grunge band Nirvana. So, yes, I chose this because it's part of their black label range, actually, which is supposed to be very high-end coffee, a bit more opulent, a bit more for those who, do seek out different flavours in their coffees. So I picked this one up for $11.97 for 200 grams. So it's a bit under, the 250 grams. And you're paying about, what you'd expect for 250 grams. So it's not obnoxiously expensive, but it's just that little bit more, which is fine. But as always, I've ground up the beans, and we've got my espresso shot, my oat latte, and my water to cleanse the palate. So, what am I expecting from this? It's a light roast, and it's from Nicaragua, La Bastilla. So Nicaragua. Although it says it's a blend, so I presume it's from different places, different farms from Nicaragua, which is very interesting. I don't know if I've tried a lot of coffee from Nicaragua, largely because I struggle pronouncing Nicaragua. But, I don't really know what I would expect from a Nicaraguan coffee. But this seems to suggest that it's... what I like about this is brewing instructions. Prepare using your preferred brewing method. So, you've not given me any brewing instructions. Why even put it on the label? I know, because it's basically saying, yeah, it's good for espresso or filter. But, come on. Gødhead are a Bolton-based kind of roastery. So that's interesting as well. I most of the stuff I get, I guess, is from London, generally speaking, or Hertfordshire, where I am. So that's an interesting... Bolton is not somewhere that... I know you can roast in anywhere, but Bolton is not somewhere you kind of instantly associate with the coffee scene. Or I certainly don't, and that may be a flaw of mine. But, they're based there, and this particular coffee is supposed to taste of sweet apples and pears, which is very interesting. Sweet apples, so I'm expecting sort of a citrusy kind of bite, and then maybe a sort of caramelly with those two, a sort of caramelly undertone maybe. So I bought the coffee, and it came with this nice little card that's just got a little blurb, I guess, about it, and I like the branding. But what they also sent a letter, which I presume is just something they send out to everyone who's ordered their coffees, but it says, "Dear Vincent, thank you for choosing Gødhead and selecting Nirvana in whole bean form, one of our most beloved blends." That's how I know it's a blend. Nirvana is sourced from the highlands of Nicaragua. I didn't know Nicaragua had highlands, but cool. It must have. You grow coffee in mountainous areas. Makes sense. Where the beans absorb richness of the land, resulting in coffee that bursts with fruity undertones and concludes with a caramel finish. Told you, caramel. Every sip of Nirvana is a journey towards a moment of bliss, something we are truly honoured to share with you. Your decision to choose whole beans means you appreciate coffee at its most authentic. That's true. A quality we deeply admire and seek to honour. We're thrilled that part of the daily ritual you can experience it. Right. So it's basically a nice little marketing letter, but it's a nice touch. It's a nice touch if you're buying expensive coffee. So I like it. I like the kind of gold on black branding. It has an air of luxury. There's a sense of this is luxury coffee, which is sometimes that's what you want. Maybe not for your daily ritual, but coffee is a luxury. It is not a necessity. I mean, for someone like me, it is now because it's an addiction. But in real terms, good coffee, is a luxury. Let's be honest. So I like this whole feel and vibe. So here we go. As always, yes, espresso, oat latte, water to cleanse the palate. So from the espresso, what are we expecting? Sweet apples and pears. So I'm almost expecting sort of a caramel apple vibe with a citrusy bite. Some so sharp maybe at the tip of the tongue, and then really kind of sweet and smooth going down is what I'm hoping for. So I'll take a sip of my water. I tell you what, smelling the coffee, it's got a really rich smell, you know how, if you ever saw kind of the Nescafe ads in the 90s that made, I know Nescafe is gross, but that made coffee look really kind of the smell and the aroma and made it look kind of luxurious with that kind of golden crema. It has that richness about it, that rich, delicious kind of caramelly, chocolatey smell to it, and it's got that smell. So I am definitely sort of hoping actually that it will be kind of smooth and coat the tongue with a caramel. That's my hope. And it just smells great. There's no kind of cloy to the smell. So here's hoping. Not as much bite as I thought. Definitely caramelly, and it definitely coats the tongue. Again, not as much as I expected, but it does have a really rich kind of aura to it. But you can really taste that crema, really kind of nice, thick, oily crema. That's where the coating sensation comes from, I guess. And it has that kind of caramel definitely there. There is something slightly, I guess, because of the oiliness at the back of the throat. It doesn't catch, but it does go down quite smoothly. I'm not necessarily picking up those fruity tones. Oh, yeah, no, on second review, there is a crispness, there is a crisp kind of... So if you focus on that mouthfeel, that kind of oily mouthfeel, you definitely go, oh, caramelly and whatnot, but right at the tip of the tongue, there is a crisp kind of freshness, and you do sort of get this sense of apple. Less so pear, but I guess it's that crispness there that is what they're getting at. And I definitely see that from the espresso. And it's not an obnoxious espresso. If you're not an espresso drinker, I think you could probably still kind of get on with this comfortably. But neither is it a sort of a middling soft thing that regular espresso drinkers won't like. I think this would appeal quite broadly, to both worlds. I think that is a really great espresso, actually. And I'm intrigued to see how it will work as an oat latte. Finish that off. Real kind of rich blend. I think it will get less of the fruitiness, and that caramel tone will really just spread across the back of the mouth in an oat latte. And I think it will be kind of really kind of warm and chocolatey, hopefully. I mean, from my point of view. But I liked that espresso. And I'm not, as I kind of regularly say, I'm not an espresso. I'm an espresso drinker, if you see what I mean, like lattes and whatnot. But I'm not an espresso drinker on their own, particularly. So I think that fruitiness might kind of be peeled back with the oat latte. That citrus sense will kind of disappear. Not citrus. I don't think there's a citrus bite, but the apple and pear kind of crispness, yes. So again, let's cleanse the palate. and see what we expect from the oat latte. Here goes. That's interesting. That is very rich and deep and warm. And there is definitely a caramelly undertone that really kind of carries through. But it's really kind of mild for a oat latte. And it's really pleasant. That caramelly, that richness remains, but there's no defining tone that really powers through. I am really enjoying this as a rich caramelly oat latte, but I don't think you could give that to people and say, "Oh, pick out the tones in that beyond caramel." And that's not me doing it down. I'm just saying it becomes almost all kind of this rich caramel. I don't pick up those fruity tones. So it becomes really caramelly, and it's interesting because it has that crisp bite and then just becomes just rich and kind of warm and golden and syrupy almost. So the juxtaposition is very interesting. But I really like them both. But I think this is fantastic as a oat latte if you're not looking for any bite. If you like rich, warm kind of oat lattes. So that is perfect for someone like me, as a regular kind of oat latte drinker. That is what I want on a cool autumn day, or just sitting with a book and a latte. That is exactly that rich, not sweet, but with an essence of that kind of sugary comfort almost. That is a comforting drink. But it's just really interesting that you move from kind of quite crisp to almost, warm and cozy, which is a nice little change up. I'm going to go away and think about it, write up some of my thoughts and feelings. But in the meantime, do hit our like and subscribe buttons. Check us out on TikTok. So find me on Instagram. And I'll come back with my final thoughts in a bit. So let's just quickly summarise my thoughts here. It's a bold and crisp espresso with a freshness about it. That's where the kind of apple and pear tasting notes come from. They kind of crisp bite. Not too acidic though. There's no real acidic bite, but there is a crispness to it. And then that transforms into something luxuriously kind of rich and smooth. That real kind of caramel tone that coats the tongue, makes the mouth feel kind of, full of a rich kind of caramel flavour. It really comes out as a latte. So for my money, that's a 4-star coffee from Gødhead Coffee. Thank you very much for watching. Do hit those like and subscribe buttons, and we'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.